Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bengal Tiger Podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Shea Dixon. Shea, it's Friday, 10 o'clock. We're about 24 hours from kickoff for LSU and Missouri. A game that is outside of Florida State, the most important game LSU has played to this point this year. And I think that is pretty safe to say. And they will be going on the road to play an undefeated Missouri team that also has a lot to play for. This is a huge game for both sides. And when we talk implications, when we talk, what these teams want to do for the season and their hopes and dreams, obviously, if LSU loses, it drops to 3-3 on the year. If Missouri wins, they're undefeated still. And, we're looking at one of the better Missouri seasons in recent history. So this is a massive game, and it's against a Missouri team that you could argue is the second best team LSU has played this year. I mean, you could argue it, and we'll definitely argue it. But yeah, a lot to unpack here.
A lot to unpack. We're beyond last weekend. That's a great thing now that we can move forward here. 55-49 lost to Ole Miss, but boy, did the offense not look amazing. You hope to see that continue this week. Yeah. Boy, when you just said 10 a.m., 24 hours away, that seems short. These 11 a.m. kickoffs hop up on you quick. I'll also, Shea, meteorologist here, will give you the weather update. It's going to be like 50 something degrees at kickoff. So bundle up if you're going. LSU fans, LSU players, this won't be as bad as when they went to Arkansas and were sipping hot cocoa on the sidelines while getting crushed a number of years back. But I think they'll be ready to roll. And I can also confirm they're staying in Columbia. So no car dealership stretching needed at 7 a.m.
Yeah, no car
Straight
dealership.
to the stadium.
Only 15 minutes from the stadium, I think they said. So let's start with the injury report, because Brian Kelly gave out the final injury report on Thursday night at his press conference, and there were 3 names on it and 2 receivers that I think take a little shot to the depth at receiver. But Chris Hilton is doubtful. Omar Spates, linebacker, is doubtful, and Aaron Anderson, receiver, is doubtful. So I saw Chris Hilton go down. We saw him go down the last play of the game when he tried making that catch, and he never really got up, and you couldn't see what was wrong because the fans were just storming the field around him. And then, Omar Spates, hip flexor has been bothering him. Aaron Anderson, hamstring's been bothering him.
Your reactions here. Okay, so that's what you said. It's Anderson and Hilton, right?
Anderson, Hilton, and Spates.
Lacey was listed early in the week. Now he's good to go.
Yes. Yeah, he was
I think that means you're fine because Malik Neighbors has caught 40 balls. Brian Thomas has caught 33 balls. Lacey's caught 8 balls. Mason Taylor's caught 13. Then you get into Hilton and Anderson, 5 and 8 each. Hilton has a touchdown from that deep bomb. I like them as players. I think they're both very dynamic as players. But the big 3 are what they are at this point. They're the same guys who started the season. Kyron, Brian Thomas. Yep. You can disagree if you think Kyron should not be part of the big 3. But at this point, statistically speaking, 149 yards, 8 catches, a couple touchdowns. He would be the 3rd most productive receiver.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you have Kobe and Shaq, and then you have Derek Fisher, as the 3rd option or something like that.
I didn't know where you were going to go with that.
I mean, you with the way Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors are playing right now, like it's those 2. Those are the 2 that are obviously carrying this offense as far as receivers go. And then you have Kyron Lacey and the other guys that can rotate in. I do think we'll see a little bit of Shelton Sampson this week. How much, I don't know. How many targets, I don't know. But I think we will see him worked in. Hilton played a decent amount. Anderson, when he was healthy, played a decent amount. So I don't think we go a whole game just seeing those 3 receivers. And if there's another receiver to work in there, it would be Shelton Sampson, right?
You would think so, yes. We have not seen Jaylen Brown yet. Kyle Parker didn't even get a target in that Grambling State game. Kai Preon hasn't played. So, yes, it would be Shelton Sampson. Landon Ibiad is out with an injury. So that is the next guy up. That's your only guy up. I did a quick Google here for the people who are still stuck on Matty B's Lakers thing. And maybe people are watching that.
I bet I can guess. I bet I can guess the third leading scorer. Hold on. On
Well,
the
no. I'm
2000.
on the 1996 team, which would have been the first year they played together. Which team
Oh
are you
boy.
looking for? Are you looking for a championship team?
Yeah, I was thinking the championship team, but I guess this isn't a
Okay.
championship
What
team.
year was that?
2001. Let's do the 2001
Okay.
team. That
All
was
right. So you've got Kobe and Shaq. Who you going with from
Kobe,
there?
Shaq. It's not Rick Fox.
It was the well, you got it the first time. It was the only other person who averaged double
Okay,
digits.
it was Derek.
Derek
So it's
Fisher.
close. So there you go. It's that's where we're at with this LSU room. It's literally, and when I wrote up the keys to the game, and you compare Missouri's receiving duo, which I'll call them a duo with Burden and Theo Weiss, against what Malik and Brian Thomas have done. Like Malik and Brian Thomas have just been so incredible, and we've talked about it at length. But those guys are just really Shaq and Kobe right now. They're awesome to watch. So that's where I was going with that.
A lot of coaches on that roster now, guys who now coach in the league. So then quickly, who is your Tyronn Lue? That's Aaron Anderson, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Aaron Anderson. I can
And
see
Chris
that.
Hilton can be the Robert Horry. He can strike.
Yeah,
He can hit you deep a couple times.
yeah, he can make a couple plays here and there that'll be like, wow, he's there, he's doing something. And then we have Omar Spates, not playing, which LSU fans I think are I don't even want to say split on Omar Spates at this point. I think everybody is so caught up in Whit Weeks that everybody has thrown. It's like when Andy got a new toy and threw and dropped Woody to the side, and it was like, I don't want to play with you anymore. That's what people are with Whit Weeks now coming in. They're just dropping Omar Spates by the wayside.
We've had a Toy Story and a 2001 Lakers reference 7 minutes into the
Feeling good
podcast.
today.
I'm proud of you, Matty
Thank
B.
you. Thank you.
Okay, so toss aside, do you agree? You watch a lot of the film back. If I just watch the game, if I watch it with my dad, if I watch it with someone who is just a fan that'll watch each game, isn't going to dig into the film study, isn't going to go run through the stat sheet, Whit Weeks shows up way more than Omar Spates does. That does not mean he's always in the right position, or at linebacker, often you have responsibilities that sometimes aren't shiny,
Yeah.
but it certainly seems to me that Weeks is the more productive player.
I agree. I think he is, even when you look back on everything by a snap basis, I just think he's more explosive. We've seen him more fleet of foot in different scenarios, and ultimately, there's an argument to be made. Like I agree, this defense needs playmakers, which Whit Weeks is certainly a playmaker. There is an argument, though, I think, of this team needing to be in position better. This team needing to be disciplined. This team needing to check boxes that maybe Omar does check that Whit Weeks maybe can lapse in at times. Now, it's a weighing game. Like how much do you weigh each one? I'm still taking Whit Weeks at this point in the year just because of productivity and playmaking. But I think it is kind of, I don't want to say foolish, but it is kind of like fans and like us, to get over excited at times with Whit Weeks, because there are things that Spates does well as far as an alignment go, as far as different procedural things that he does well as a fifth year senior.
Is there some thought that Greg Penn should not be tasked with playing every single snap at the other linebacker spot? That maybe
Well,
West Weeks gets in the game some?
that's what I was going to ask, is who you replace him with, and I guess what West Weeks would be the choice. I
don't mean
look
replace.
at
I just
West.
mean he played like 90 snaps again. Like that's
Yeah.
a lot to keep him out there for every play.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do think that is a lot. I don't know if Whit Weeks. I don't think Whit Weeks is a better player than Greg Penn. I definitely don't. But I wouldn't be shocked to maybe see him
West Weeks, you're
more.
saying?
I'm sorry, West Weeks. Yes, it's too many W's.
They are brothers for those people that don't know. So very cool
Yeah,
story for them. But point being, Spates out. We talked about the receivers. We threw some Toy Story stuff in there. We won't go as deep as we did in the Lakers. I won't ask you who Slinky Dog or Mr. Potato Head is on this defense. So we'll move on.
yeah.
Where do we start? We doing offense
Um,
versus defense? We doing defense versus offense, or Missouri offense versus LSU D? Which one do you want to go with?
we can start with Missouri offense versus LSU defense because that's probably the most interesting thing for this game because LSU fans at this point are just so out on the defense. It's like, how are they ever going to get a stop? And I think that's very understandable at this point. And when you start with Missouri's offense, it starts with Luther Burden. He is phenomenal. I mean, statistically, probably the best receiver in the country. Him and Malik Neighbors are right there with one another. And then you have like all the Washington receivers and stuff. But we could be seeing the two best receivers in the country in this game. And Luther Burden, I love how Missouri uses him. I reposted on Twitter a graph of his where he catches the ball, and it's just all over the field. He's not exclusively a deep ball guy. They get it to him in a ton of different ways. Some people, they brought up like Tyreek Hill, and I see it, but I even thought like Jalen Waddle with how the Dolphins and Alabama have used him in different spots there. So it's a really, when you get into those type of names, obviously how talented he is, but he's the centerpiece of their offense, and they use him very, very well.
You did a great film study this week for those who didn't catch it on the Bengal Tiger. The Bengal Tiger is $1 for a month right now. So if you're not a member, please come out, support us.
Yes.
You'll love it. Our community has grown so fast. If you're watching us on YouTube, just give us a like, a subscribe. That goes a long way as we put in the work to build this fan site for you guys. The community of the Bengal Tiger, which has been rocking and rolling, is we hit Matty B, you and I, a little over a year being on the site,
Crazy.
and boy, have we boomed since then in terms of the members who have joined on and become fans of the Bengal Tiger. So shout out to all you guys. Also, I'm not the type that's tweeting at anybody and I'm not even going to call him a celebrity, but RG3 is on the call this week. And you had the most upvoted post on the board this week when they said that RG3 would be on the game, and you in all caps just wrote, "Luther ain't looking like a burden tonight." I need to screenshot that, send it to him, and there I would have little doubt that he would use it in the game and may
100%.
even reference. Shout out to my boy Matty B on Twitter who came with this line. But in your film study, I've not watched a ton of Missouri. I watched them play K-State. I didn't even watch the Vandy game. But I didn't realize how much they were getting him into space in very quick throws, just almost like what you want to do with Aaron Anderson, except he's a load. And when he gets going with a little open space, if you can catch a block or two, it all comes down to tackling. That's fearful for me if I'm an LSU defense. I mean, it isn't. I think Luther Burden, when you think of like a wide receiver, even Brian Thomas or Malik at times, and Malik not so much, but BTJ has become that deep threat. I think people just thought Luther Burden, he's putting up all these stats, and I've seen a couple of highlights where he burned Vandy's defense, and they run some of that slot kind of post route where, much like they do with Malik, and they hit him in the end zone. But the gifts and the different plays you put in there of him just kind of getting it around the line of scrimmage and then just going, and it was miss tackle. That's what's fearful for me if I'm Matt House. They have to get better. It's not even a have to. It is a must. You've got to tackle this week. You could not tackle a week ago, and that cost you.
Yeah, and I'll pull up on I'll share my screen real quick. It was from Bill Connolly. Obviously, if ESPN does a great job, if everybody doesn't know Bill Connolly, there he is right there. Yeah, here's the catch chart, or the target chart, I should say, for Luther Burden. Obviously, 20 yards and in is where a majority of his completions come from. That's very scary because, like you said, they're gonna have to tackle. And against K-State, I mean, that's not a bad defense, and he lit them up with some short stuff, intermediate screens. That's just a lot that LSU defense is going to have to handle. My one hope, and I think this is the case for the remainder of the season, is that LSU's defense isn't going against Lane Kiffin. And that was my concern. If you remember against Ole Miss, I was like, I just think Lane Kiffin's a really good obviously play caller, offensive coordinator, all that stuff. And it showed. He was a step ahead of everything else you wanted to do. And LSU was really in the entire time. So the hope is maybe offenses are more one-dimensional moving forward, but this is we're talking about one of the best receivers in the country. This is a top 3 player in the 2022 class, like 5-star, bona fide, 5-star plus, everything. Check all the boxes. And LSU's weakness is its secondary. So you have concerns there. And then I will throw in Theo Weiss has been a really good receiver number 2 for them as well. So that's not just, Burden on one side and a 2-star on the other side. Like, that's a former 5-star in Theo Weiss.
I am looking up. Here we go. I'll try to move through this quickly, but just so you get an understanding of it, because you talked with Brian Kelly yesterday at his press conference. It's fall break, so they practiced a little earlier. They had the press conference in the middle of the day, but he talked about this, about, somebody's is Luther Burden going to get his? Well, maybe, but we can't forget about Theo Weiss. And then if we focus on them, we can't forget that they do have one of the better running backs out there that can kind of pop a few on you. And he kind of went through this whole thing of how do you contain everybody? Where do you put your focus? Let me just throw this stat out there to understand that whether it's Luther Burden or Theo Weiss or whomever, Brady Cook, the stats so far will say somebody's having a career day. So in the 5 games LSU's played so far, Matty B, someone on the team, on the offense, has had their best game of the 5 games they've played this season against LSU. For FSU, it was passing yards. It's Jordan Travis's total touchdowns that he threw 4. Keon Coleman hasn't had a game as big as the one he had. Johnny Wilson hasn't had a game as big as the one he had. Both those guys went over 100. Grambling State the next week, Antonio Jones, 7 catches for 81 yards. That's his best game of the year. Mississippi State, Marks. Mississippi State scored, 14 points. They blew them out. It was a great showing. Yeah. Even in that game, Jaquavius Marks, 9.4 yards per carry against LSU. It was 8 carries for 75 yards. Yes, they only scored 14 points, but 9.4 yards per carry, that's his best mark on the season. Arkansas, total yards 426 was their best. Passing yards of 289 was their best. Jefferson running for 48 yards was his best. Even Rashad Dubinion, 15 for 78, his best at 5.2 yards per carry. And Luke Haas, obviously the freshman tight end, went off 6 for 16 and 2 touchdowns. Then you get to Ole Miss, Judkin's best game of the year. I mean, he had put up 60 on Mercer. He puts up 177 on LSU. Ulysses Bentley IV, 9 for 90 on the ground, was his best game. Louisiana's own Trey Harris, 8 catches for 153, his best game of the year. Don't forget about Jordan Watkins, 5 for 103. That wasn't even his best game. That was his second best game. Dayton Wade tied his most catches with Mercer, which is not even a competitive game, was 7. And then their tight end had his best game of the year, pre-scoring 3 for 41. And then obviously Dart's 389 passing was his best of the year. No matter who they have played, the quarterback and the receivers, or the running back has had their best game of the year. Somebody's going to have their best game of the year this weekend.
Those are damning stats. Those are just damning stats. It's a Missouri offense that is top 30 in the country, just an overall EPA, 17th in the pass game, 77th in the run game. So if you're looking at, all right, they're not a great running team. 77th in the country, and the EPA is not great. Schrager's a solid back. They run Cook a little bit, but they're not a super efficient running attack. But we've said that before.
You did mention that in your breakdown where you said that Brady Cook has scored some rushing touchdowns this season. In fact, he's had 3. Has not had any in the past couple of games. He is the guy who can run, but it's, as you noted, nothing like a Dart or Jefferson. Again, this also counts for sacks, obviously, but Vandy, 6 carries for 6 yards, no touchdowns. Memphis, 4 carries for 17 yards. Kansas State, 10 carries for 2 yards, but he scored, which is a wild stat line. Middle Tennessee State, 12 for -5, but he scored. And then South Dakota, 3 carries, 17 yards, but he scored. So I'm guessing they're using him around the goal line a good bit.
Short yardage stuff. He's more of a designed runner. He's not a scrambler, which I tried to, like you said, that's kind of how I view him. So it's more designed stuff. Their run game is not potent, but Ole Miss is coming into the game was not potent. Arkansas is coming into the game, I didn't think was elite, and both those had some success. So I am concerned that if LSU obviously drops a lot into coverage, then if the defensive line continues to struggle, maybe Schrager does pop a couple runs that hurt them. So it is a very interesting balancing act right now. I don't want to trust anything with this LSU defense. But in theory, Missouri's run game is not its strength. Obviously, it's the pass game. So we'll see how they match up there.
Should we flip it?
Let's flip it.
All right. Here's your good news. And we didn't even mention there on defense that LSU ranks 117 out of 133 teams in total offense. I know that total offense does not equate to scoring, but for full disclosure, I guess LSU scoring defense right now ranks 108 out of 133 teams. So
where does the total offense rank?
Say it again.
Where does the total offense rank?
113.
113.
No, total defense is 113. Scoring defense is 108. Okay, so now we flipped it. I've given you that stat.
Okay, yeah.
Let's have some fun here.
Yeah.
Total offense ranks for LSU number 4. They put up 551 yards a game. Passing offense for LSU, obviously, ranks in the top 10 at number 6, 353 yards a game. Their rushing offense has obviously come along. And their scoring offense is number 7 at 44 points a game. Missouri's not better than them, nor close in any of those categories. And then a hat tip. Obviously, Brian Thomas leads the nation in touchdown catches with 8 coming out of last week. Malik Neighbors is, I think, 2nd or 3rd in the country in receiving yards. Yeah, 3rd with 625. Let me make sure I'm telling you that right. 2nd in the country with 625. The only person he trails is Luther Burden, who has 644. And they have to go up against him this weekend versus Missouri. But this is the one I really like right here, Matty B. It is, let's go back here, go back again. Total offense on the year, 2,002 yards, Jaden Daniels. Number 2 in the country behind only Michael Penix, who is 2nd in line to win the Heisman. And Michael Penix has 6 more yards than Jaden Daniels. So, boy, oh boy, are we watching an offense that can just put up numbers. And we talked about it on the podcast last week. We talked about it with Brian Kelly when I asked him. Yes, the big difference is Jaden is going deep, and he's still not turning the ball over. And not only is going deep, he's just dropping it right into the basket every single time. He looks phenomenal. But it's a combination of, I guess, these two things tie together. He never seems phased, but he didn't seem that way last year either. Never seems rattled. And what Brian Kelly said was, yes, games a year ago, Arkansas and Auburn, he started slow and he never could get out of it. And it wouldn't phase him. He just couldn't get out of it. Arkansas, he starts slow. He finishes SEC Player of the Week. Ole Miss start a little slow, end up putting up touchdowns basically every drive the rest of the game and goes wild throwing and running the football. So for me, there is not a game that they're going to run into where Jaden Daniels is held in check to any degree beyond a quarter or so. That bodes well for a team that doesn't play good defense.
Yeah. I've reached the point where I think they step off the bus and score 40 points. Like, I just think they're that level of offense right now. Something I asked Brian Kelly about yesterday was their efficiency on first downs, which
I love that question.
Great answer to. They're number 1 in EPA on first downs. They're averaging over 9 yards per play on first down. Just the versatility of this offense, the way that they can attack you in every single way on every angle of the field at this point, just has defenses on a completely different level. I mean, as the defense, you can't really prepare on first down. Brian Kelly said that teams have tried blitzing them, tried being aggressive with them, try to get them behind the chains, and Jaden Daniels is getting them into the right protections, getting them into the right play, and their RPO stuff is working as well. So they're a step ahead. Mike Denbrock, I want to give him a shout out. I feel like he hasn't been talked about enough. I feel like we've talked about the personnel and all that stuff, but Mike Denbrock, this feels like a Mike Denbrock offense. I know we've talked a lot about the 2 tight end stuff, but I think he has evolved in a way that you see this 11 personnel and you see the 3 receivers and you see the running quarterback. And this is, I think, what Mike Denbrock wants in an offense, and the balance, the RPOs, the versatility. I just think that everybody is incredibly comfortable right now, and I have no doubts that this team will score over 35 points, 35 plus points in every game it plays from here on out.
Logan Diggs has been such an unbelievable addition out of the portal. He's gone for basically 100 a week now every time he's been in the lineup. He didn't play in that Florida State game, but he brings them such balance beyond what they're 5 games in. After this game, we'll see. They could reach the midway point of the season, Matty B, and Jaden Daniels not be the leading rusher. It actually would be Logan Diggs, which,
Yep.
wow, that's what they needed.
Yep.
I love Jaden running. That's part of what makes him such an elite quarterback. But they had no running game other than him. And now that you do, that makes this offense all that more dynamic. I can't remember if it was Bill Connolly or not, but to add on to your point about first down, someone, and I had mentioned this maybe last week on the pod, but someone had mentioned in an article I'd read that more teams, maybe it was a Mike McDaniels thing, I can't remember, but that forever analytics were stuck in offenses can be determined as successful in terms of downs by winning on third down. And I think the data shows that the reality is the teams that are the best on first down are the teams that are really, really efficient offenses. So for LSU to be sitting at 1, that's a great sign. I mean, what did they average? 9 yards of play on first down?
Yeah, pretty much. So that's
I
yeah, like
mean,
go ahead.
let that
There's
sink in.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I could do a whole film study on that alone. I will say the one strength before we switch sides. The one strength of this Missouri defense so far has been against the run. They're top 20 against the run and rush defense EPA. So I thought they did a good job against Kansas State for the most part there, Vanderbilt. So the run defense is the one encouraging sign for Missouri here. I just think LSU's offense is more than capable of being versatile enough to, I mean, basically take whatever the defense gives it, which is an old cliche, but this LSU offense embodies that mantra of we're going to take what you give us because they are so damn good at everything that they can do that.
Another quick little stat here before we keep it rolling on the offense, and I'll tie in. I'll give Brady Cook his flowers here as well. Jaden Daniels this year, 10.7 yards per attempt pass. So
Yeah.
every completion is averaging a first down. That is elite, elite, elite. Caleb Williams and Michael Penix are doing the same. They're the only ones at 11, and Jaden's third in the country at 10.7. So you're in those are the 2 Heisman front runners. Like that's who you put yourself up alongside. Scroll down that list, not very far. And there is Brady Cook at number 10, 10.4 yards per attempt. That's very good. Obviously, that gives LSU a bit of a challenge this week. 2 below him at number 12, TJ Finley averaging 10.2 yards per attempt. Shout out to the old Tiger. They are playing for Texas State. But Matty B, to wrap this up in a way, 2 offenses that not only put up points, but when passing the football are doing it for chunks at a time.
Yeah. Obviously explosive. I'm interested to see how defenses start to adjust to the big plays of LSU's offense at this point.
So Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin said last week that so much they did against Harold Perkins and how they attacked LSU's secondary. They said we watched film and we knew exactly what our game plan was. I'm curious how much self-scouting goes into LSU this week of defensively, what are we giving away and what do we need to change? One, they brought in Pete Jenkins as an analyst to work with the defensive lineman on technique. That's great. They were lining up 1.5 yards off the ball. I think Matt House had once said that he thinks they're able to see the play develop a little bit better there. The reality is they never get any pressure. But Kelly did say on his radio show last night they're going to 4-down linemen now. So that is a notable change from where they've been at with this 3-3-5.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they use it and how they use the personnel they have because yeah, I saw
And
Pete,
he promised Womack would play.
and he did. I saw Pete Jenkins yesterday, kind of going around the facility and talking with guys. So still
Moving
looks
slow,
yeah,
but
still looks
deliberate.
spry enough, getting
Yeah.
out there, getting
One of
busy.
the
Had a
best to ever do it.
notepad and a pen and was getting busy. So
I'll say this. People say, how much can an analyst help in a week? If everyone's watched the games and said they have no technique, they don't know how to get off blocks, all this, and Brian Kelly comes out on Monday, Matty B, and says, yeah, my D-line coach actually isn't a D-line coach. Obviously, Jimmy Lindsey's gone. I had to put Jancic there. He's coached for 30 years, but that's not really a specialty. Then it can help a lot. Even
yeah,
a week can help a good bit. So Very, very eager to see what this defensive line and defense looks like this weekend. Will be I guess like last week before the game when I talked to an Ole Miss buddy and I said it should be a great game, and he said, great, I don't know, entertaining maybe. So that could be the case again this weekend. Is it perfect football? Maybe not on defense, but it'll be entertaining.
Points. There you go.
Points. All right. If you're wanting to see the game, you rock with the Gametime app. Here's what you do. Snag tickets without the stress, and you do it with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, one word, Gametime, create an account, and use the code TIGERS. That's TIGERS. $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, get on Gametime, download the app, create your account, redeem your code with Tigers. You get the $20 off that first purchase. Download Gametime today. That's last minute tickets. Lowest price is guaranteed. I've told you guys all the time, it's not just sports, it's music, it's comedy, it's theaters, whatever, wherever you are. Gametime has deals for you, flash deals, last minute ticket deals. I love that you can get the image of your seat view, so you know that if you've got a pole in front of you or something that you're not going to be able to watch any of the game, and that's why that ticket was so cheap, and you didn't find that out until you showed up. Worry not. There is no stress with Gametime. You get the seat view image. Lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. They've got it all. Here's what I'll give you. My weekly best bets. And if you guys are going to
let's see it.
Are going to be at the Saints games or anything else or any NFL games, I know it'll be plus or on time for that. But I'm going to get you in if you're up in Missouri and you don't have tickets yet. My deal of the day, lower bowl, corner of the end zone, if you're fine with that view, $69. We'll get you in, and that is Gametime's deal right now. I know every time I turn the map, it doesn't really work, but there you go.
It worked.
So you can be kind of in the corner there, $69. If you want to sit at the 50-yard line on the visitor side, you can get in right now under $100. That doesn't say 907, that says 97, as you can see. A good amount of stuff left in the upper deck as well. There's even some stuff on the home side under $100. So cool stadium. If you plan on going and don't have your tickets, Gametime is your app to use. So download the Gametime app, promo code TIGERS, $20 off, and you'll be rocking and rolling. And the tickets will be right there on your app.
There you go. We love it.
All right. We into MVPs?
Yeah.
I already wrote my story, so I'm ready.
You wrote yours. So you can go first.
As you answer.
You can go first.
Do you want me to roll them all?
Yeah, you go with yours, and so that way I don't pick. Yeah, yours.
Okay, I'll just give all three. So every week we do offense, defense, special teams. Okay, offense, I'm going Brian Thomas Jr. Here's why. He leads the NCAA in touchdowns, 8. He had 3 scores against Ole Miss. I know Malik Neighbors is the number 1 target on the at receiver, but through 5 games, BTJ looks like one of the best in the country. At least 1 touchdown catch in 4 of the 5 games this season. He's caught 2 or more in 3 of the 5. I think he gets into the end zone at least once this weekend. He had double-digit targets a week ago. Give me Brian Thomas Jr. on offense. I've not picked him yet this year, I don't believe. So rocking with him in this one. Defense, I may take your pick here, and I'm sorry if I do. And this is someone you wrote about this week, and someone who I'm picking out of, and not only because he's talented, but there's built-in emotion. It's Mekhi Wingo, who transferred in from Missouri after his freshman year. He was an all-SEC freshman, has been phenomenal. He's LSU's best D lineman. And there's, as I wrote in the piece, nothing like home. Matty B, he told you that he's had family and friends hitting him up nonstop in Missouri for tickets. He's having to ask all of his teammates, hey, can I have your leftover tickets? If all your family's not going to be up there, anything I can get, I need. There'll be a lot of Wingo jerseys in the stands. And we obviously, with Pete Jenkins being brought in, they're challenging this D-line to step up. He's their best player. I think he has his best game so far this year. And boy, oh boy, are our special team options pretty limited when they decide to fair catch it every time with Greg Clayton. Unless you want to get real spicy, I'm going Damian Ramos again. Yes, he missed his first kick of the year. It was a 56-yarder going into half. That's way beyond his range. But he did drill it, and it was right down the middle. It just wasn't long enough. I'm not mad at it. He still hit every other field goal. He's hit every extra point. And if we think this is another tight game, another shootout, there will be a point where he's got to kick a field goal or two. I wrote it in my prediction piece. Give me Ramos with 2 or more field goals made in this one.
I like that. Yeah, Mekhi Wingo said, I think he was, what was the number? He was trying to get to like 100, something like that. Some crazy
What
number.
needs to get on Gametime?
Yeah, I was gonna say he's trying to get some like really high numbers. So, but this is probably the game that he can do that with, because obviously this is probably the least traveled game for parents and stuff. At least from Louisiana or Texas, I assume. Okay. Offense, I'm gonna go Jaden Daniels. I think this is setting up for really another huge game, just with the pass game, especially. Missouri's run defense has been pretty stout to this point. I expect them to try to take away one of Malik or Brian Thomas, maybe Malik again, who knows. But even if he doesn't get the slot fade touchdowns that he had, I just think there's enough balance here from what we've seen with all the other ways that they've attacked his legs. I just think he's going to have another awesome game. And I'm looking at the rest of the schedule besides A&M and Alabama and thinking this dude can put up some awesome numbers and really put himself on the national stage as far as Heisman talk and just best quarterback in the country goes. So, yeah, Jaden Daniels is my offensive pick. Defense, I probably would have picked Mekhi Wingo. I have to think though, and I'm hesitant to pick Jordan Jefferson because he played 15 snaps last week. And Brian Kelly said when asked about playing, I think it was asked about playing Jordan Jefferson more and Deshaun Womack more. He very he just named 9 defensive linemen and said those guys are going to play. He didn't say anything else about players playing more, less, whatever. The Deshaun Womack quote came, I think, in the radio show, so that was where we heard that. So I'm hesitant to take Jordan Jefferson. So I'll take Whit Weeks. I'll take Whit Weeks. Give me Whit
Okay. I
to
was
make
going to
a few
give you
more.
the option to take the field of backup D linemen if you want. Like, because the 3 starters carried 87% of the snaps
What do
last
I
week. If
get?
you wanted the field on the D line, the backups, I would give it to you.
So what do I get? Shand, Guillory,
Yeah, you
Jefferson,
get
Ovi,
Shand, you get Guillory, you get Jefferson, you get
Ovi.
Womack, you get all those guys.
That's kind of enticing. I kind of like that. I'll stick with Wheat. I'll
Okay.
stick with Wit though. And hope that he makes a few plays that give me the edge here. I think Harold Perkins was actually pretty good against Ole Miss, and I think he's going to be pretty good in every single game. But like Lane Kiffin said, teams are going to really start scheming for him, and it'd be nice if somebody else could step up and make a play. And I think that will be Mekhi Wingo or Whit Weeks this week.
What does Whit Weeks do in this game that would earn him an MVP?
A couple tackles for loss and maybe break up a pass to Luther Burden. I mean, if Luther Burden is getting those screens and those flares or those motion type plays, with Weeks' speed, in theory, should be able to track him down a couple times, make a couple plays that maybe a guy, no other linebacker on this team could make, and that will be a game-changing type play. So that's where I'm looking at Whit Weeks and being, all right, yes, I want you to fill run gaps better. I want you to make those type of plays, but getting sideline to sideline is perhaps his biggest strength. And going against an offense that can stretch you out like that, I think that's going to be very valuable for him. So, special teams wise, we haven't seen much Jay Bramlett because they don't punt. So I can't really pick Jay Bramlett because they're going to punt once or twice this game, and that's not going to do much. So I'll go with Damian Ramos. Nathan Dybert kicked out the end zone a few times against Ole Miss, which was good to see. But I'll stick with Damian Ramos. I don't know how many field goals I'll take. Probably, like if the over under was 1.5, I'd take the under, but I'd be a little reluctant in that.
You're banking on making all the extra points and maybe one big kick.
Exactly.
I'll take it.
All right, predictions.
Yes. Do you have yours?
I do have mine.
I'll let you go
It
first.
it goes against what I just said in terms of them only kicking one field goal.
Okay, of
But
course it does. This math is about to not math up real quick. Y'all stay tuned.
um I feel really good about LSU's offense here, obviously. Like that's just where their strength is I don't see Missouri stopping them multiple times in this game. I don't see them making 2 straight stops in this game. I just think LSU's offense is too good at that point. Give me LSU to score 41 points here, and I think that's enough. Missouri 35, 41-35. Final score, LSU wins.
I went with
I'm not looking at abilities.
30. Okay. So I went 38-31 LSU. And here was my breakdown. I said LSU's down and out after giving up most yards on defense in school history, right? And I'm just not ready to count them out just yet. LSU has a top 5 offense. They faced a top 5 strength of schedule per ESPN. Meanwhile, Missouri's strength of schedule 95th. They came away with that 38-21 win over Vandy. That's the only SEC team they've played. Brady Cook's been great. Luther Bird has been great. We've talked about both those guys. But if we're giving them a best win at this point, it's Kansas State. They beat them by 3. They beat Middle Tennessee State by 4. And the most they've scored in a game is 38. If you're saying LSU can get to 40, then Missouri would need to have their biggest offensive output of the season, which very well could happen. LSU's defense is probably one of the worst that they faced this season, as crazy as that sounds. And obviously they're going to be hyped up being at home. But what I said here, LSU's put up at least 35 points a game beyond that 24-point effort versus Florida State when they just didn't do anything in the second half. We have not seen that happen again. And beyond that week 1 game, LSU's offense every week, even if there was some hiccups early, they just rolled. So I'm not tossing the season out yet. I don't think LSU is. I think there's some resolve and fight in this team. I don't think that Kelly and the squad take 2 back-to-back L's. I'm going LSU 38-31 in this one, which would be an over, I believe.
I think so. I think the over
and a cover of the original spread as well. So I may be all kinds of wrong, but we'll see. 38-31.
What could go wrong?
LSU opened at -7. It's down to -4 for those wondering. A lot of people put in money on Missouri saying, Missouri in points, give it to me. And that's been the betting line all week.
Yeah. So final lines out later today. We'll see if we can get back on track.
I'll have a prop in there. Don't worry.
Shea will have a prop. He'll help us get back on track here after 2 straight losing weeks. So we need that.
We should.
All right. All right. That's it. That's all we got for y'all today. Hope y'all enjoyed the podcast. Got this out to y'all about 24 hours before kickoff. So let us know what you think. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Bengal Tiger for $1 for a month. Or subscribe for the year because, damn, we do a lot of stuff for the entire year.
$1 for a month. Maddie B's had women's basketball recruiting scoop, men's basketball recruiting scoop. We've had some new football scoop this week. If you're into recruiting, $1, that's a steal. If you're into the team, it's also a steal because, boy, we are discussing everything right now as we go through a period of a 180 of the Les Miles years. One of the best offenses in America, but suddenly one of the worst statistically defenses. So see if they can't get it turned around. Missouri, 11 a.m. Saturday, ESPN and RG3 back on the call.
Yes, sir. Luther's.
And I'm going to try to get Maddie B a shout out.
Luther's going to be a burden.
Luther doesn't look like a burden today.
I was between that or he was saying the only burden LSU has today is named Luther or something like that. So one of those two. It's something in this vicinity RG3 is going to say. You just know he is. So there you go. All right, guys. Thank y'all for joining us. We will talk to y'all later.